first of all, I would like to know who comes. So there were 3 different invitations, kind of. So we have announced this event on the Basic Income Meetup group. We have announced this event on the Bitcoin Meetup group and on the ThoughtWorks page. So who's here from the Basic Income Meetup group? All right, thank you. And who's here from the Bitcoin Meetup group? Okay, perfect. And I guess the others are from the ThoughtWorks. Okay, perfect. So what will be the evening about? It will be about circles, and circles is a currency, and here comes the connection between those topics. It's a new currency. It will be a new currency similar to Bitcoin, but it will implement the basic income. And so the idea for the evening tonight is I will give a presentation what circles is, how it will work, and I think after 45 minutes we will have a break, and after that whoever is interested, we can have a deeper discussion, or even maybe we could even split up. Just welcome. Just general announcement directly at the beginning. So we founded this first Berlin Basic Income Meetup group. So if anyone is interested in giving a presentation or something on basic income, you are very welcome, and we will find out together what we can do. But now, let me introduce to you circles. As I said, circles will be a new money where every person gets its own, the person itself creates its own money, its own basic income. So all money that is available in this system would come to existence via basic income. And then people can connect to each other and join groups or circles, and within a circle they would share, they would accept each other currencies, and therefore kind of use the same currency, or they would agree to a one-to-one exchange rate, and within a group where everyone has its own personal currency and all are connected with one-to-one exchange rates, they would basically use the same currency. But I will go to this more in detail, and I hope I will catch everyone up if you come from the Bitcoin perspective or you come from the basic income perspective. So two more words to describe it. It would be bottom-up money, or it would be positive money, because all money is created debt-free. Today in our money system, money is created when someone takes a loan or makes debt. In circles, all money would be basic income. So, welcome. Come in. So, I a little bit assume that you already are familiar with the concept of basic income. This slide will not convince you, I guess. I mean, I guess you have to you have to think more about it and come to the conclusion that it's a good idea. But just very short, why a basic income, or what is a basic income? A basic income is the idea that every person should get at least so much money just for being a person to cover the basic needs of the person. And there are lots of good reasons for basic income. I will only shortly mention those 3. There are a lot more, but again, I somehow expect that you are already familiar with the concept of a basic income. So it's the most unbureaucratic way to establish social welfare. Every other system of means-tested social welfare comes with a lot of disadvantages and it cuts the freedom and privacy of people. Some people see it as a automation dividend. So through automation, a lot of wealth, a lot of value is created in our society, and you could see the basic income as a dividend paying out this wealth that is not. It's not. If you have today a company and you use a lot of technology, then most of the technology you use is not created by you, but you use the stuff generations before you invented. So you could see it as a fair thing to distribute a share of this value that's created today just to everyone. Per person. Another point is today we say if there's new automation, then people are afraid and say, okay, well, that will destroy 10,000 jobs. I would say, wow, that's a great thing. Then the people are free to do other stuff. But obviously the question is, how do they still get an income? With a basic income, this problem would at least that would be solved, because they just get a basic income, they have an income, and above that they obviously can earn more. But there is not this need that we need to organize our society so that we have Vollbeschäftigung, or that we have a job for everyone. So I really like the slogan, Freiheit statt Vollbeschäftigung. Freedom instead of jobs for everyone. So another way to see it, another way to look at it, why a basic income would be a good idea. After the last 10, 20, 30 years, economists told us that there is this trickle-down effect. So that if their money is created, or money is, big companies can get a lot of money from central bank, and then the money will trickle down, and everyone will have a job, and everyone will finally get money. We can revert. Welcome. We can revert this idea. We can say, okay, money is not created up there, but it is created on the bottom level. Every person creates its own money, and so we have a trickle up instead of a trickle down economy. So again, why circles, or what are the ideas? If we agree that we want a basic income, then we could ask ourselves, how should it be implemented? And one way obviously would be we try to build it on top of our current money system, right? So the traditional way would be, okay, we ask a government, and they will somehow collect money through taxes, and then distribute a basic income to the people. But the more direct way would be to implement the idea directly into the money system. So why build it on top of the money system if we can directly build it into the money system? If you come from the Bitcoin perspective, then the second bullet point is a way to think about it. So you probably already agree we should have a decentralized currency like Bitcoin. But what is a fair distribution of this currency? With Bitcoin, the money is distributed to the miners. Wouldn't it be nice, or wouldn't Bitcoin be way more successful if everyone would get a few Bitcoins? In the old days of Bitcoin, you just would need your PC, turn it on and you would earn some bitcoins. But those days are gone for a long time. Today you really need to invest a lot of money to mine some bitcoins. So my argument is if the distribution of bitcoins would be way broader, so way more people would have at least some, Bitcoin would be more successful. So a way to see circles would be, it's a currency like Bitcoin, but the distribution of the money is way broader. It's per person. The current implementation, the implementation I suggest is on Ethereum. I will describe details later. So some of you might ask, or already some asked me, is it possible at all? Is this realistic what you are proposing? I would say, of course. So first, Bitcoin is obviously the best example that it is possible to create a new currency, and Bitcoin is pretty successful. Currently worth around about $7 billion US. And the second, and the graph you are seeing there, look at the green line. That is the amount of US dollars that are out there. So so the idea to constantly distribute new money or new coins, that is not a new thing. That is happening today in our money system. So some people might argue that is generally a bad thing and we should have something with Bitcoin with a fixed supply. But I would argue we can have money where constantly new money is distributed, but we should distribute it per person as a basic income, and then it would be fair. And it still can work, because I mean the dollar, you can there's a lot of things to criticize about it, but it works somehow. So just to answer the question, it is possible. That brings me to the slide. It's a quote from Bernard Lietaer, and the question is, what is money? What is money at its core? And his definition is, money can be defined as an agreement within a community to use something as a medium of exchange. And as an agreement, money lives in the same space as other social constructs like marriage or a lease agreement. These constructs are real, even if they only exist in people's mind. The money agreement can be made formally or informally, freely, and so on. So the important note is that our money and monetary system are not God-given, not de facto realities like air or water, but they are choices. We have choices, and we could see money as a social contract, and we could decide to have a different one. And the social contract money, that basically defines how people are allowed to access goods and services. Thus, we can have a new social contract that includes the idea of the basic income, that everyone has access to basically his basic needs. Very short, how could it look like? We could have an app where you, it's a decentralized system, but one you can have an app where you just get constantly your basic income. It's a number. You have your own personal currency. So those are just two slides that that show one possible way to show it and to present basically a wallet if you come from the Bitcoin world. Okay, now we are trying to get deeper. Obviously, there are problems that we need to solve. And in my opinion, the two main problems we need to solve is if we create a currency, how do we make sure that it has value? And the second problem, that's for those who are a little bit more technically, but it's very easy to understand. It's so-called Sybil attack problem. And the Sybil attack is something in computer science. It's just the problem, how do you identify a single person in a decentralized way? So if we would agree, we have a currency, this is the circles idea, where you get per person a specific amount of money. How do you define per person, or how do you define who is a person and who is allowed to receive a basic income? So why can I not, if it's decentralized, so there's no central authority who registers your passport or something, why can I not just create 10 accounts and get 10 basic incomes, and therefore kind of screw up the system? Welcome. So those are the two main problems, and here's how we solve them. Circles consists of 12 rules, and they are all very simple, but they try to specifically solve this Sybil attack problem. But nevertheless, the system is completely decentralized. So there's no central authority who decides you can get a basic income and you not. First rule, everyone can create an account. And as soon as you create an account, you just get your basic income. What's important to notice is that this is your personal currency. So it's different from everyone else's currency. So let's say even if you would create 10 accounts, then you would have 10 different currencies, and the idea later is that you can only make one valuable, and this will come through the other rules. So as soon as an account is created, it will constantly generate new coins. So something like, let's say, it doesn't really matter, but let's say 1,000 units per week. The third rule is important. This amount of money that will be generated per week, that will increase. So by something 2 or 5% per year. So in the first year you get 1,000 units per week, and the next year 1,020. If we would say the growth rate would be 2%. That is important because otherwise the value of the basic income is it's relevant of how much money is there overall and what's the fraction, or what is your basic income. So if you get 1,000 units and there are already 5,000 units out there, then those 1,000 are way more valuable as if there would be millions of coins already out there. And if you constantly give out the basic income, then the total amount would increase. But if you also increase your basic income, then finally the ratio between newly generated basic income and the amount that is already out there, that will finally stabilize. So the total money supply is not stable, but the ratio between the basic income and the total money supply, that will be stable. Okay, rule 4 and 5 is not so important. It's just if you start a new account, then you will already get coins for the last 3 months. It's just a kind of a usability thing that you directly can start with something, so that you don't have to wait if you start your new account, but instead you already have some coins and you can directly try it out and spend them. And 5 is a similar rule that makes it easier to, or basically the person who brings you into the system gets a small reward of your newly generated coins. There are just 2 rules to make it easier to grow out. But an important rule again is rule number 6. And here now it really starts. As long as people have their own personal currency and no one cares and no one knows about it, it's worthless. It gets a value if people decide to connect to each other. And let's say you have your basic income, you have registered an account, I have registered an account, then we both could agree, and we would do it on the blockchain, so in a transparent way so that everyone can see it. We would both agree that we trust each other, or that we recognize each other, and that would mean that we are willing to exchange our 2 currencies one-to-one. That it doesn't necessarily mean that he's trusting me totally, but just means that he accepts my money and I accept his money. Of course, trust can be revoked at any time by both parties. Okay, 8 is also not so important rule. If you trust them, you get some of his coins. But what's important to notice, if we have a group of people and they are all trusting each other, that means they fix the exchange rates one-to-one, all to each other, then that would result in a situation where all their currencies are basically the same currency, because the value is tied to one-to-one. And obviously that's needed to make a currency useful, that you have bigger groups within you can use the currency. Okay, finally, I guess I skipped the code. That's just how you write it down on Ethereum. It's way more simple to implement this thing on Ethereum. Just a few lines of code. Finally, the last 4 rules. To give more stability to the system, we allow the concept of groups. Anyone can create a group. And let's say I want to create the group Berlin Bitcoin Meetup, or Basic Income Meetup. And the requirement to be a member of the group, that can be defined by the group and can be any rule. It can be just you have to come to me and show me, or just speak to me and I sign you up. Or it can be that 50% of the existing group members vote for it. Anyways, so group can define their own rules, and then groups can add accounts as a member. And let's say we have this Basic Income Berlin group, and then you would all be members. Then you have the right, okay, we can add members and we can exclude members, but the important thing is every member of a group has the right to convert its own personal currency into the group, into group money. So I could convert, or everyone who would be in the Basic Income Berlin group could convert its own personal currency into the group currency. My margin, I can just convert my margin currency into the group currency, and that brings more stability to the system. Because otherwise, I would spend, let's say, my margin currency to you, and then you would hold margin currency, and it would kind of be a little bit unstable, because as soon as I my currency is not longer trusted or not longer accepted by others, those coins would be worthless. If it's backed by a group, then it doesn't matter or at least if 10-20% of the group maybe fall out, then still the group would maybe be stable.
What do you mean by margin currency?
Once again?
What do you mean by margin currency?
By what? By
Martin, that's his name.
Martin. Oh, sorry, Martin. That's Martin. My personal Martin currency. Sorry, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Like group, so actually you have like your personal money that's generated, but then when you create a group, the group also has to have money, right?
Right, but the generation of money is always and only done on a per person level. So if we create this basic income Berlin group, then there is in the first place no basic income Berlin money. Only as soon as single members of this group voluntarily decide to convert their personal currency into this group currency, then there is this group currency. So again, all money that is in the system only comes into place through basic income. Yeah? Or maybe first?
The money only gets a value, even though I have not understood where the value comes from. That would be my next question.
Yeah.
But I, as an individual, can only put my money into the group money, which is an irreversible process. But somehow in the group there is a mechanism that would allow the group to kick me out, but my money would stay inside.
Right. So if you are kicked out, then you only have you have no longer the option in the future to convert your personal money into the group money, but the money you already converted, that remains stable. Yeah, or you don't even know who. So there the system is similar to Bitcoin. So you have principal anonymous or pseudonymous accounts. So you don't even know who owns the money currently.
But there is someone centrally who can block members in a group.
A group can define its own rules, and it can be a central rule, but it doesn't need to be. So it could be 50% of the existing group members have a vote. It can be basically any rule. They can define their own rule, and that can be, of course, written as a smart contract in Ethereum. I see a bunch of more questions. Maybe I just continue a little bit, and then I'm very, very happy to answer more questions. Once again?
You said there's this process that anybody can create as many accounts as you want.
Yeah.
And you can exchange money by somebody trusting and then changing. How do you prevent that I trust me and my other chain?
I will come to that. So once again, just how it would regularly work. Let's say we have three people, A, B, C. So there's person A, and person A happens to currently have 300 units of A money, so of its own personal currency, and it also has 100 units of B money, so the money of person B. Person B and A are connected to each other. Person B happens to have 50 units of person A and 350 units of its own personal money. And finally, person C has 350 units of B and so on, and 600 units of person of its own money. So let's say person C sells something. So, for example, owns a shop or a restaurant, whatever, and sells something, and person A wants to spend money at that place, but they are not connected. So that means person C does not necessarily trust person A or does not accept person A's money, but as long as there's a connection, then what we can do is, since A and B have agreed to the one-to-one exchange rate, B and C have agreed to the one-to-one exchange rate, A can transfer 100 A units to B, and that can be done automatically on the blockchain, because it is written on the blockchain that they trust each other, so B doesn't need to be directly involved in this process. So B becomes, or gets, 100 units of A and forwards 100 units of B money to person C, because person C accepts B money, right. So, and obviously this chain could be longer. So as long as there is a trust connection between point A and someone else, where person A wants to spend money, it works. Now, that's your question. Let's say person A creates 2 more accounts, Sybil 1 and Sybil 2. And obviously, person A would trust Sybil 1 and would trust Sybil 2, and maybe Sybil 1 and Sybil 2 would also trust each other. Then person A would get 3 basic incomes. That's right. But in the end, person A can nevertheless spend only as much money as he or she could spend even if he would have not created the 2 Sybil accounts. And that's because, yes, Sybil 1 can pay person C by converting Sybil 1 money to A, converting A to B, and sending the B money to C. But this works only as long as A has money. As soon as A only has, let's say, A would start with 300 coins, then Sybil 1 could transfer 300 Sybil coins to A. A would transfer 300 A coins to B. But this connection stops when A has no more A coins and only Sybil 1 coins, and then it wouldn't work because B would not accept Sybil 1 coins. So that means that A, even with those 2 Sybil accounts, can only spend its regular, legitimate A money. Was this clear? Okay.
But couldn't you regularly produce new Sybils? Like each time A has more money again, you could produce another one and just spend the double?
You can create a great network of 100 Sybils and they all trust each other, but in the end, what you really can spend in the real economy is only this money that is only basically the A money, or only the money of people that are connected to real people who provide something.
Okay, but in 3 months, A has 300 again, right? If it's 100.
Oh yeah, right.
So
But
then you can spend Sybil ones first.
right, exactly.
That's double the amount, which would actually be rewarded to A.
No, you can. So A can only spend the A money, and that's legitimate money. So even if A gets in the future more basic income again, then Sybil 1 can spend this A money, but A could spend the A money directly anyways.
But what is,
Yes, no, maybe? Maybe.
What is Sybil 1?
Once again?
What is if person B also trusts Sybil 1? Because
Okay, right, then it would work. If person B would trust Sybil 1, then, and A controls A and Sybil 1, then indeed, A could spend more. So that is the responsibility of person B, and actually person B has a good incentive to only trust person A. So if I come and say, okay, that's my personal account, and by the way, I have 2 more, then you obviously should not accept the 2 more accounts. And the reason is that if you accept my personal currency and I try to connect to a lot of other people, then you get my money, and you can spend it at a lot of other people, at everyone who I'm connected to. But if I have a Sybil account that is only connected to me and only connected to, and I try to connect it to you, then you would end up with this Sybil money, and that's basically worthless. So to accept someone's money, you should make sure that this is his real account, and where he or she tries to put value behind it and connect it to other people. Maybe I continue, and I'm happy to answer more questions. So I already explained the concept of groups. We can have A and B, let's say they are in the last time I gave the presentation in Palo Alto, Silicon Valley Ethereum meetup group, and B and C are in the Ethereum early adopters or whatever, and then they can convert their A or B money into this group money. Those groups can be stacked, so we could have a Palo Alto or Berlin residence group, and that could be part of a Berlin residence group, could be part of a Germany residence group, and let's say those people are part of those groups, then maybe it doesn't need to be a personal connection. That would always be one option, but as long as they are in the same groups and accept this money from this group, the second way to create a connection from your money to someone else's would be via the groups. So in this case, everyone who's a Palo Alto resident is also a Bay Area resident and a United States resident, and potentially there could be a world group. Okay, so that's a little bit a theoretical thought on what is the value of your personal money. In principle, it should be the maximum of, let's say you are part of 20 different groups, then in principle your personal money should have the value of this group with basically the highest value, because you have the option to convert your money in all those 20 different groups. So if at least one of those groups has a valuable currency, then also your currency is valuable. So theoretically, the value of your money is the maximum of the groups you belong to and the people you are connected to. If you are connected to, again, 20 people, and so you have the right to exchange your currency into their currency, or exchange with them, then again, your currency will have basically the same value of those people who you are connected to, and I have added the number a liquid connection. That's what I explained before. In the Sybil example, as soon as the connection is no longer liquid, then it's basically not there. On the other perspective would be the group money. That would have the minimum or the minimum of all members. So the group money cannot have a higher value. The value of a group cannot have a higher value than all single members. So basically, the value of the group money is the minimum of the value of all the members. Here we have some more rules how a group can be organized. So we could have simply a centralized group where someone says, okay, I'm responsible for this group, and I decide who can join and who not. But we also could have a web of trust rule, so something like if if 20% of the existing group members trust this person, and there's this so-called the trust a distance between the or the medium distance between the new member and all members in the group. You could do some fancy graph theoretical stuff there. Right, this is maximum distance, mean shortest distance. Could have a simple voting mechanism, 50, 60, whatever percent of the existing members could vote for someone. Centralized, you can say all employees of a business are a member of the group. Okay, I think I will just show you the next slides, and we will I will skip them and just mention them, and maybe we do it in a smaller round, and then I'll open up for questions. Very important parameter in the system is this growth rate. So this rate that determines how much do you get more each year, how much is the basic income increased. That it's basically the factor how good is the system a store of value, and is it still a sufficient basic income, and so on. That's the growth rate of the euro and the dollar, so just helps to find some numbers. The idea is that we want to maximize the basic income for everyone, but if we have the growth rate too high, then the currency is maybe not a good store of value because the inflation is basically higher. So we need to find a balance between, we need to maximize this formula. Here, a little bit high-level perspective. Some of you might know Ripple. So you could say, so Ripple is this idea that basically this one-to-one connections, I trust someone else, and if there's a connection to a third party, then we can interact over this trust connections. So to some degree, Circles is Ripple plus basic income, money creation that serves the people instead of maybe the banks, debt that doesn't need to be paid back. That debt is not paid back in our system today, so that's the total amount of US dollars. So that's nothing new. Those are also those are design principles for common resource, for a pool of common resources, and to some degree, Circles is such a common pool resource, and so we should have a look where we can find in the rules of Circles where we can connect them to those rules. I skipped this one. The last slide I want to show you before we can open up the discussion is the next project, or the first project we want to do with Circles, and we want to open a Späti. We want to open a Späti in Berlin, maybe call it BGE Späti, or let's see. And the idea is simple Späti, and you can pay with Circles to make it very concrete and make it and make it practical and erfahrbar for everyone. Okay, so that was, I guess that was it for now. I'm very happy to answer more questions. Then we will have a break, and then everyone is welcome to stay or to discuss in smaller groups. Thank you. I don't know who was first. Maybe.
Okay. I have a question about this group.
Good. good timing. The presentation is over. That's
If I convert my money into a group, that doesn't mean that the owner changes, right?
right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. And the other question is, my membership in the group is kind of the same as trusting the group in the other way.
It's only in one direction. So being member of the group only gives you the right to convert your money into the group money, but it does not require you to accept the group money. You can, but you are not forced to. It's a little bit different with the personal connections. Then it's really two-sided. So both agree that they accept each other currencies.
So what's the usage of groups then?
Right. So a group would be useful if, let's say, 5 or 10 shops in Berlin together decide we will accept this this group money. So they don't say, okay, we accept only persons where we are connected to, but we trust in a specific mechanism to identify valid persons, because that's all what it's about. So it's really all about solving the Sybil attack problem, solving the problem who is a valid person, and one level is this purely person to person, but in addition you can have some smaller entities. So it's maybe this this idea of here we go. So if we only would have the person-to-person connection, then we would have this purely distributed thing. But we can have small kind of centralized entities, those groups, and they are connected to each other. So it's another layer that allows different form of connections. Over there, yeah.
Given that it's unlikely that all the commodities that Group A circles could buy would also be available in Group B circles, why would you assume a one-to-one exchange rate?
I don't think they have a one-to-one.
Right, they don't. Groups are so.
One-to-one exchange rate, and how does transactivity work?
Let me think. So the one-to-one exchange rate is usually on a person level. As a group, it only works. The members have the right to basically one-to-one exchange. It's not an exchange; it's a conversion. So you convert your personal money into the group money. And then, let's say there's 12 shops in Berlin, they have agreed, okay, we accept this currency and we trust a specific process of identifying members. Let's say you need to show your passport at one of those 12 shops, and he will register you to make sure you can only enter the group once. Then the others would say, okay, I don't need to, I accept your money, and I only want to make sure that you only get your basic income once. That's all I need to accept your money, and I trust this process of this group, and so I would accept the money.
So the value of the circles in Group A would not be equivalent to the value of circles in Group B. So a shop that accepts circles would have to have different prices for every group that they sell.
That would be possible, yeah. In principle, a group can be a group can be a member of a higher group. So, and then you would have the right. Let's say we have this Berlin group, and above this we have a Deutschland group. Then, as a Berlin or as you could convert the Berlin circle into Deutschland circle. What's nice about this concept is that you, I like this term of connecting the advantages of a local currency and the resilience of a local currency, but having the option to scale up and having the option to form bigger groups and form bigger unions of people with the same currency, but if the upper layer, the Deutschland layer, somehow breaks down, then we can go back to the Berlin layer. And if even this breaks down, because then we can again go back to the personal level. So currently with the euro, it's kind of a forced union, and if the euro breaks down, it completely all would break down. And with this layering of systems where the money is, I mean, the real money, value of money comes from other people accepting this money. And this really is a personal level where I have my currency and I have those 20 people who are accepting it. That's kind of where the money, the value of every money comes from. And with the circle system, it's more clear that a specific money, who accepts it. Yeah.
How would you determine the price of food in this späti?
Right. So there are two options. And we are currently thinking about what option is better. So one option would be to already try to start relatively high. So to start something. So if we say you get 1,000 units per month, for example, in circles, then if it should be a real basic income, then I would say today in Germany you would need something between 800 and 1,000 euros, so that you could start with a one-to-one exchange rate. But I guess then the problem would be that those who then you, as soon as you get your basic income, you get really 1,000 euros. But that would make it harder for you to agree to basically share this value and to connect to others. Because, so let's say I have a basic income of 1,000 units and they are worth 1,000 euros. If as soon as I connect to someone else,
From Ukraine, for example.
Yeah, just to randomly someone else who I know, then...
I mean, from different country where the basic income in a way should be less.
Right, but even today, I mean, in the beginning, of course, it will not be established. So I can kind of artificially make my currency set the value to this specific number just by being the Späti and setting the price to this only for a little amount of money. But that would decrease my incentive to connect to others. So the other strategy would be to start really low, to say, okay, basic income in the beginning, when we start this system, maybe it will be $1 per month or something, and then as soon as more people connected and use it, as soon as more shops accept it, then the money will go up. But in principle, it's a free decision, and yeah, it could be like in Bitcoin, where in the beginning Bitcoin was worth a cent or even less, and it gained in value. But unlike Bitcoin, I guess there's an upper limit for the value of this currency, because just of the inflational character, just because there's always new coins are distributed, so there will be clearly an upper limit.
Would it be possible to exchange like my generated money to fiat money? For example, someone wants to pay.
Absolutely. I mean, if you find someone who wants to spend fiat money, of course. So it's a free. It's between. Right.
I think one of the greatest values of the money that we use now is that we don't have to trust directly the person we give it to. And as I was, maybe I wrongly understood, but as I saw your previous slides,
Yeah.
you have to trust the guy who gives you the money, because otherwise you have this thing like you described. You just make one group of siblings, make sure this one person is trusted, and somehow, I mean, how will you overcome that? You need direct trust to be able to do transaction? Or?
You don't need direct trust, but you need at least indirect trust. You need, so again, this slide where the transitivity is described. So you need to be connected to a set of people, let's say 20 people. So maybe your family and your close friends. And then the idea would be that, I mean, there's a theory that every person in the world is connected to every other person in the world over 7 hops. So I know someone who knows someone and so on. So there doesn't need to be direct trust, but there need to be a trust line. And in the end, obviously, the user does not have to care to find this trust line that the software will do it. I guess you were a little further.
I have 2 questions. The first is I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly that from a privacy standpoint, this is strictly much worse than Bitcoin because you have to actually present your social graph to a merchant to buy something from them. Right? Before, I actually have to tell you about the path from me to you, the trust path.
I mean, yes and no. So first of all, you only need to own some currency that the merchant accepts.
Right.
But
that's my second question though, which is that why would I only have one identity? If I let's say I'm part of 2 different communities in Berlin,
right.
And there's a little bit of overlap between them. These different like social communities, not in blockchain, but real communities.
Right.
And there's some overlap. So an honest person would use one identity. And they would build trust relationships with people in both communities, and they would be limited to spending the amount of basic income that they receive. But a dishonest person would create a separate identity for each community, and they build trust relationships using each identity, and now they have twice as much basic income.
Right. So if you indeed have 2 completely separated social...
Let's say they're not separate. They're
actually
largely overlapping.
They overlap. Okay, then... Right. If they overlap, then people will realize that you use 2 different identities. Right, how?
The privacy is that bad that they could actually realize? I mean, it must be really terrible. I mean, I think it is actually that bad. But that's devastating. You know? Yes, on the one hand, you do need kind of you do need to associate a profile to your currency. Yes, and then I see your point in criticizing the privacy here. But on top of that, as soon as you are, as soon as your currency, you have your connections, then you can do anything, or you have the total freedom of a blockchain and of pseudonymous accounts. So. No one knows how much money you have because you can transfer your money. So money does not need to be at an account that's associated with persons, with a person. Only accounts where new income is generated, they need to be associated with a person. But there can be just like Bitcoin addresses, thousands of accounts that are not associated with the persons. Only the money that's in there is associated. My one income generating account that I only use at the Shreddy, and I have another income generating account that I use at the bar down the street. Even if the owners of these 2 businesses know each other, how would they ever realize that I'm taking double basic income?
Once again, so okay, but you assume that you are directly connected to them.
Yeah, I've got a trust relationship with both of them, but I'm ripping them off.
Okay, so again, if you are, let's say you are in 2 separated, you have 2 or a little bit overlapping communities. So let's say you create your new account and it's trusted by no one else in the first place. Then the first then people should be very careful with accepting your money. Actually, because it's also a big risk for them. Because if they accept accept your money that is trusted at this moment by no one else, then you can just exchange your potentially worthless currency against their valuable currency, and that's it. So I assume that the first connections, so the connections with someone who has no connections yet, you would only do it with family and really close friends you really know and you really want to help to get their currency started. And you usually...
That's not to like buy illegal things.
Oh, I mean that's a whole different topic. And I mean the core trust that the trust is only about are you only using one account? And again, the idea is that to establish the first connections, that's a big risk for those who are accepting your currency, and this big risk only people would take who really trust you and who really are close family or family friends. And there the assumption is that you as a person usually have only one circle of really close trust relation.
But you could build multiple identities and trust yourself the whole time, right?
Yeah, so your argument is, okay, I can build a second identity and I can, or let's say 20, and those 20 trust this identity, and now I can go to others with this identity and say, oh, look, it is already trusted by 20 others, please trust it. The others should only take those 20 accounts into account if, or the others should only take accounts into account that they personally trust. So here's this web of trust idea. So in the app we are building, you would see, so if someone comes to you and say, please trust my currency, you would see to how many people this account, this person is already connected that you personally trust and know that they are a real person. So that strategy would not work.
What if one circle is about my family?
Yes.
I create one account where the trust circle is my family, and then I create, because they trust me because they know me personally, and then I create a second account which I use that my colleagues in my company trust me.
Right. So the idea would be that the colleagues would not trust you. Instead, they would say, "Wait a minute, why don't even your family trust you?" So because I mean, you would have a second account that in the first place no one trusts, and then you would say to the colleagues, "Oh, please trust it," and they would say, "Wait a minute, why is no one else, your family and your close friends, why are they not trusting it?"
Okay, then one circle my mother and my father trust me, and the certain circle my girlfriend trust me. So I have.
In principle, your girlfriend should ask why are not your parents trusting you. But I think we make a short break, or we finish it, and then people. I'm totally open for more questions and deeper discussions, but I don't want to bind those who want to go or who are done yet. So maybe again one more the last announcement. If you have any ideas for topics around the basic income, let us know. Then we will decide what the next meetups, when and where and what about they will be, and I will stick around and we can have much more questions.
It's about circles, right?
All right. That's a good thing. So, I guess I forgot to mention about the current status. So the current status of this project is we have a forum about circles.com. We have some code, the Ethereum contracts on GitHub, and also a Twitter handle also about circles.
How long do I have to learn to get one beer from you?
Right. So currently
drinks are therefore €1. So I forgot to mention that. But yeah, that again are the two options. So the option I'm currently favoring for getting it started would be to set a basic income of 1 month to something in between 5 to 10 euros. So yes, you could go to the Späti and grab every month, let's say, 4 beers.
Not bad.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, and let's open it up to informal gathering.